And we're coming to you live for the Built Ford Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason and Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network. And wherever you are in the free Odyssey app. Good Wednesday morning. Haven't been in this studio in almost 2 weeks, and it's great to be back. Little shout out to Martin Travers, the engineer, who hung up every picture in my office and reorganized it for me while I was gone. So I walked into a palatial office.
I can't wait to see this.
I mean, it is gorgeous. It looks like a totally different place, and he has interior design techniques that I am impressed by. So that was put a smile on my face coming back here to the office. And if you're a Yankee fan, you got a smile on your face because disaster didn't turn into more disaster last night, and Juan Soto saved the day. You got the Mets slipping and sliding a little bit. But, man, it's going to be tough for that Yankee fan to lose Juan Soto next year. I'm not saying he's going to the Mets, but I just don't see how they re-sign him with those other contracts. Now, they got to go and win a World Series this year or get there and make it worth it. But, I mean, the way he's played, games like last night, his age, he's going to price himself out for even the New York Yankees. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, Jay. I think these are all the things that we're trying to figure out and trying to kind of predict as to where he's going to end up. But, yeah, what a game he had last night, and certainly what a game Nestor Cortez had last night. He needed to have a big game against a lousy team, and, he certainly delivered for the Yankees last night. That was a good sign for them. For the Mets, they've lost now 4 in a row. Another just absolutely abysmal starting pitching performance, this time by Paul Blackburn, a guy that was acquired right prior to the trade deadline, who was going against his old team, and he got slapped around early and often. The Mets now are in the midst, like I said, of a 4-game losing streak. The frustrating thing about them, I think their high water mark would be 6 games over 500.
Might have been 7.
Was it 7? It was 7. Okay, 7 games over 500. And you thought maybe, just maybe, and the Phillies have lost 4 in a row.
Yeah.
And the Mets are still only 8 games behind them. I say only, but if the Mets could have been halfway decent over the last couple of weeks. And I know that they had the 10-game road trip. I know all of that. And last night was a disaster game against a team that is not going anywhere, that sold off a lot of its players. But, that's the kind of performance that frustrates Met fans. And, Blackburn heard it last night.
Yeah, absolutely.
And rightfully so, because, it's not his fault. He just got here.
Yeah, I mean, he's going up against his former team, too. It's just something that, I don't know if there's emotions involved there, whatever.
Of course there is.
But yeah, the Paul Blackburn revenge game didn't really work out for him or the Mets. Now, the Met fan on social media these days is almost as sensitive as any other fan base that's out there. And I grew up a Mets fan. We know that. I still remain a Mets fan. My passion for the Mets probably peaked around 2006, 2007, right around that area. I don't know if I'll ever get back there, but I still want to see this team win. I still love this team. I said a couple of weeks ago when they were in the middle of this winning streak that I still, because of the flaws that they had, was not a full believer in this team. I got absolutely roasted by these Mets fans.
I know.
How can you be so negative with this team? Oh my God. What type of loser are you? And I was like, hold on. It's not that I'm not enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. And the fact that they thrust themselves back into the conversation was great, because there was a point where I thought this team was going to be dead in July and August and September. We'd have nothing to talk about. But just the way that they were hitting did not seem sustainable for me. We do understand that their bullpen, albeit better since some additions, still stinks. And the starting rotation guys have been overachieving for a majority of the year. So
key guys are hurt.
Right. And and once Senga came back and was gone was another reason why I was like, I'm sorry, but there's so many teams jammed up there. So I'm not surprised they're on this little bit of a losing streak here. I've stayed steadfast that I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, and it's going to be really interesting. Is Pete Alonso Saquon Barkley? I mean, that comparison to me is one of the it's just perfect, where you got a team that overachieved, that had a guy who was really popular that they didn't want to trade, and then he ends up hitting free agency, and his value is in a place that you just don't feel like you can pay him, a running back and also a 30-year-old baseball player that's hitting free agency for the first time at a later age. It's like the same exact thing. Homegrown guy, it's the same, but you held on to him because of unexpected success.
Yeah, there are those Met fans that wanted to trade at the deadline. They wanted to get rid of guys, and they wanted to rebuild the team. They wanted to
It's
sort
like,
of
10% of the fan base?
Well, yeah, about
though?
10% of the fan base, but they were realistic. I think a part of you is realistic. Part of me and Jerry thinking that they were going to be, potential wild card team, at least a team that was over 500, still is out there. That still can happen for them.
Of course.
And they
3 games over.
But the amazing thing to me, yeah. But the amazing thing to me about what's going on with them is that one series they can't hit at all, another series they can't pitch at all, and it's coming like right after. Like there's no consistency there. That's the problem with the team, especially in the midst of another losing streak. They get destroyed by Seattle.
Oh, it's terrible.
Destroyed.
That was the worst series of the year for
right?
them.
And I don't know if you haven't. Well, I would say Milwaukee the opening series was pretty bad too. But when you look at like Seattle, now Seattle has been overtaken by Houston.
I know. Houston, who got off to as bad of a start as they've gotten off to since they were the worst team in baseball and then built up. I mean, they came roaring back in a way that's been remarkable.
That's what I was hoping the Mets would be able to do. And I felt like they were there, like at that one high watermark point. High watermark point. High watermark point, yes. Yeah. You would think that, okay, this is where we're going to get this thing going. And unfortunately for them, there are inconsistencies. It's just, it's mind-numbing. And watching both the Mets and the Yankees, open these these two series that they're playing, get beat by teams that are just out of it. It really does not give you much confidence, especially if you're a Met fan, thinking that they can wake themselves up. I mean, all right, I get a 10-game trip. It was hard. You had to go to St. Louis for a day. All those things. You're a professional baseball player. You're getting paid a lot of money. You're flying around on, charter jets, and nobody wants to always be flying and playing in other ballparks. But, the game's on the line. You can't be playing like they're playing right now.
Well, I mean, basically, you come home, you have a dud after a day off after the road trip, but you've got 2 more against the A's and you got 3 against the Marlins before it gets tough again. So if you don't want to get yourself in a situation where you got to win games against teams like the Orioles or the Padres, then win these next 5 or win 4 out of the next 5 and get back to a reasonable situation. Because I mean, the next thing you know, 2 games out of the last wild card, 3 games, 4 games, 5 games, 5 teams in front of you. I mean, it happens quick.
This is kind of the moment right now where they have got to get out of this malaise. They've just got to
stop the bleeding. Got to stop it. Got to stop it. Stop that bleeding.
You don't have to snap and point at me.
That's what it is, though. You need a stopper.
This thing has got to stop.
It's stop the bleeding.
I don't like that.
But it's just, you know what it is? It's not, you're taking it personally. It's when something pops in my head.
Go like that. Oh, don't point at me.
Oh, you don't? Okay,
point it somewhere else.
Wow, man. What happened? Did something happen to you back in your past where like this
I think one of my teachers used to do this to me, and now it's triggering me now later on in life.
Okay, all right. So you want me to do this?
I'm going to get up and slap the bleeding crap out of you.
I'll do this then. Stop the bleeding.
Yes,
all right.
that's
all right.
What you
Stop
need
the
to
bleeding
do.
spot.
All right, but in all seriousness, this is the moment. This is like, I feel like this is their season is right now hanging in the balance. If they had won 4 in a row, I mean the Phillies have lost 4 in a row. The Phillies are coming back to the pack, and the Mets have
the Braves will just win the division, right? They just come up and take it like they always do.
Anything, to make the inroads that they needed to make it, and the opportunities that they had. That's the thing. That's the frustrating part of it.
Yeah, but this is. I know we could say this every single day about baseball, but when you are what you are, generally you end up where you're supposed to be. Now, the Mets have taken a different road. They've been really bad. They've been really good. They've been really bad. They've been really good. But they're essentially what Jerry thought they were going to be, was a team that was around 500.
500, yeah, I know.
I mean, that's right, and that's basically what they are. So, and I don't. Could you make a case that they catch fire like they did towards the end of the season, and then have one of these Arizona Diamondback, Colorado Rocky, Florida Marlin type runs in the postseason. Sure, you could make a case for it.
Pitching staff is not good enough.
Right, but
it's not good enough.
Yeah.
Hey, let's be serious. People say, 85% of the game is pitching? Is that about right?
I guess.
I heard that somewhere.
Did you?
Please.
Let me.
Who said that? What are you knocking over?
Let me Google that. Let me see if that comes up.
It does come up. Somebody said that.
Have you heard that, Fleeks? 85% of the game is pitching.
Didn't Pee Wee say that or something? Yogi, maybe. Yogi
No. That's 90% of the game is half mental.
Right, exactly.
85% of baseball is pitching. Let's see what comes up here. No,
nothing. Maybe it was 80%.
Yeah, but then that would have come up in a Google search. 85, 80. It would have been like, did you mean 80?
You know what? You and your Google searches.
I'm just telling you.
I'm telling you.
No, there's just nothing there.
I heard it from somebody.
John Flaherty, maybe?
It could have been John Flaherty.
Wait, Fleegs might have something here.
The Society for American Baseball Research says in a John Schwartz article, pitching, as the old cliche goes, somewhere between 75 and 90% of baseball.
Well, it's a cliche. I'm not saying that it's an analytical statistic that they fall back on.
Oh no, hang on. So scrolling through this,
right? Exactly.
It looks like the cliche may have began with Connie Mack saying 75%.
I told you it was somebody like Pee Wee Reese, Connie Mack, somebody like that.
Some of the two different guys.
Yeah, I know, but it's somebody from that era.
Oh, okay.
No proof he said it, but it's attributed to him.
Okay. Well, there you go.
See, I told you I heard somebody say it.
You heard Connie Mack say it.
I don't know if Connie Mack said it, but maybe Bob Murphy said it. It's like that's where the Mets are right now.
Yeah. Well,
and by the way, again, the ultimate story really for the Mets going forward is going to be what is this team going to look like in future years, and are they going to commit to Pete Alonso? And if they do commit to Pete Alonso, what is that going to be like? And I think your comparison to what the Giants are dealing with or what we're dealing with Saquon Barkley is the same type of situation. The unfortunate situation is, much like when the Islanders didn't trade, John Tavares, they're not going to get anything for him.
Yeah, I mean, and I know that you could not at the trade deadline have traded Pete Alonso.
This year you couldn't have.
You couldn't have done it.
The team was playing just good enough, and I remember
Steve Cohen was into it.
I even said around the trade deadline that the ownership owed it to the players for coming back out of this depths of despair that they were in at the beginning of the season. They fought their way all the way back over 500, and I felt like the team played hard and they played well and they were exciting, and the oh my God stuff and the grimace stuff and all of these different things that were going on about 5 weeks ago. It was exciting, and the team now all of a sudden has gone flat.
Yeah, and it's really a victim of the schedule. He didn't fight through it. I mean, we were talking about it. You'd like to look ahead with the schedule. And in looking at it, I mean, you said you take 4 and 6. You'd love that, just hover around 500. And things were looking that way until they got to Seattle. And they ran out of gas. They got their asses kicked. Then they fly back, and you're expecting them to wake back up and beat the A's last night, and you had another terrible performance. So that's when it starts, like, you think, okay, end of the road trip, maybe you give them a pass. But last night now it's
more. They had a day
signs.
off, man.
Yeah, but
I mean, and again, it's a horrific starting pitching performance at the beginning of the game that puts them in a deficit that, you felt like they almost could have come back from it.
Behind the 8 ball.
Right? Okay.
That's where I put them.
Yeah,
put
it did put them behind the 8 ball, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
See? I heard that somewhere, too. I think Connie Mack.
No, that was
Connie Mack.
Minnesota Fat said that.
Oh man, I just at this point would you sign for the Yankees in the ALCS just for the radio station? Take your Met fandom out of it for a second.
100%. I'm all business, dude. I'm all business.
Wait, I'm not done with the question.
All right.
Would you sign for the Yankees in the ALCS? Mets no playoffs right now.
For the radio station, of course, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that's a practical.
Wow.
I'm not Eddie. Eddie hates the Yankees.
No, I know, but I'm saying.
Eddie can't stand the Yankees. He loves YE Day. He can't stand them. I'm not that way.
Yeah,
I try to be reasonable. I try to look at things from a different perspective. I don't know if you know this, but sometimes you do. You do kind of like lead me into things because I was a former professional athlete.
Yes, that's
so
right.
I try to, Tiki Barber and I look at things differently than the rest of you narps around here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
when I listen to Tiki's very reasonable on his takes, very bright, sees things differently than the rest of the people, the maniacs that he works with.
Yeah.
And we try to take the emotion out of it if we can.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that it's not.
Of course, I want the Yankees to make it more baseball, more important baseball.
I think you're misunderstanding my question.
Okay.
The question is, would the way that the Mets are playing right now, you're thinking about baseball in New York, period. You would say the fact that the Yankees being in the ALCS would be such a good thing for the radio station. You'd sign on the dotted line, but it would mean the Mets didn't make the playoffs.
Okay, so you're putting me in a spot where I have to answer a question where it makes it look like I don't want the Mets to make the playoffs. I get it. It's called a setup question.
No, it's not.
I understand it.
You could have very easily answered it saying, "No, I'm not ready to write the Mets off."
I didn't write them off. That wasn't the question.
I think that both teams in the playoffs would be great.
That was not a part of the question. You did not ask me if I'm writing the Mets off.
Well, it sounded like
never said I'm writing the Mets off.
You wrote them off.
No, I did not write them off.
I just heard it.
No, I did not write them off. I didn't.
Okay.
All I said was, and the question that you asked me
would you sign for the Yankees in the playoffs right now in the ALCS if
Yes.
it meant the Mets weren't going to make it?
And I said, one of these teams has got to go deep into the playoffs. That's what I want.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but there you go.
By the way, I have the same answer.
Okay,
I would definitely take that. I would definitely take that.
I wasn't writing them off, though.
Yeah, no,
that's a whole different conversation. I am not writing them off. I'd like them both to make the playoffs.
I'm like halfway writing them off. I grabbed the pen. I didn't put it in the paper.
You've been writing them off since the beginning of the year, and I understand that. You are more of the pessimistic Met fan.
It's not even so much pessimism.
It's just Jerry basically said only 2 games over 500.
I just see this is it's Sal has battled this in the past. Joe Beningo's battled this in the past. When people say pessimism, it's not even so much that as it is whether it's the Mets, a team I root for, or any other team that I'm just looking at. I get a feel from what I'm watching and what they are, and I just say it. For an example, I think that Sam Darnold's going to have a great year for the Minnesota Vikings. That's an
J.J.
insane
McCarthy's
statement.
out. Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, but I said that prior to that. I was talking about 2 weeks ago, before the J.J. McCarthy injury, that I would throw him in a comeback player of the year conversation.
But that's the Vikings. Nobody cares.
But I'm saying I'm using it as an example for my fandom, where I look at things and I say, this team's good, this team's bad, this team's good. I was looking at the Raiders yesterday going, this is the worst team in the NFL. Does that mean I'm a pessimistic guy? Or not?
Here's the thing. Since when did the station start? Like 1987 or something?
Yeah.
Right. So for the amount of years that this station has been on the dial, it has permeated with negativity and pessimism. I mean, that's basically what sports talk is. It's negativity and pessimism, unless something like what happened with the Giants happened. 2 unexpected runs to Super Bowls. And they win, and everybody's happy. Everybody feels great. It's great for business. I'm not a Giant fan. Neither are you.
Yeah.
But you know what? We want the Giants to win. We want Brian Daboll and Daniel Jones to do well. Why? Because it makes our job that much more fun.
Exactly.
Because we are in the midst of it, and we get to talk about positive things as opposed to negative things. But the overwhelming feeling from this radio station for the longest time has always been negative. And then comes the future. And this guy is so positive.
Yeah.
And when I do listen to him, and he's trying so hard to get the Mets into the playoffs the way I'm telling you, generational talent. There you go. This is the positivity that is needed around here.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you've been here for a long time.
Yeah, very long.
Very long time.
Yeah, 2005, even before you got here.
Exactly. No, but
I understand, but before you were here full time.
Full time, right?
Yes.
So, and it all permeated on negativity. And I'm trying to bring. I've always tried to bring a breath of fresh air to the discussion. and fumigate the negativity.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I'm trying not to be negative. I think you led me into a conversation and you asked me a question. I gave you an answer, but it wasn't meaning that I was writing off the Mets because I'm not.
Okay. But you don't really believe in them. Because if you really believed in them, then you would have said, "No, I'm not gonna sign for just the Yankees in the playoffs.
Look,
I believe in the Mets."
I'm a realist. I think their starting pitching is coming to an abrupt end.
Wait. Coming home to roost.
Yes, you're right. Yes, you're right.
Okay, all right.
And you're full of them this
Oh,
morning.
I've just
Great.
yeah.
Who
I mean,
said
this
that?
is what happens when you're off for a couple of weeks. You just all of it comes back to you. You know, all these sports cliches that you hear.
Right.
I'm just full of them.
Who said coming home to roost? Connie Mack?
Pee Wee Reese.
Pee Wee Reese, somebody.
All right.
Ron Swoboda.
Maybe. All right. We're just getting started on this. What is this? Wednesday morning. We've
Hump
got.
day!